The moment you allow someone to disrespect you without consequence, you teach them that your boundaries are optional. And many people do this every single day. They stay silent when someone crosses the line. They laugh when something hurts them. They pretend they are not offended when deep inside something in them feels smaller. They accept rude words, cold behavior, manipulation, public embarrassment, disrespectful jokes, and emotional neglect because they are afraid of conflict. They are afraid of being disliked. They are afraid of losing people. But Marcus Aurelius would remind us of a difficult truth. Losing your self-respect is far more dangerous than losing someone who never respected you in the first place. Disrespect does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes as a small interruption. A person talks over you. A friend ignores your boundaries. A partner dismisses your feelings. A coworker takes credit for your effort. A family member speaks to you like your opinion has no value. Someone makes you feel guilty for saying no. Someone keeps testing how much you will tolerate. At first it looks small. You tell yourself, it is not a big deal. You convince yourself to stay calm. You avoid the conversation. You swallow your anger. You think patience means accepting everything quietly. But patience without boundaries is not virtue. It is self-abandonment. Stoicism is often misunderstood. Many people think being stoic means letting everyone walk over you while you remain silent, emotionless, and passive. But that is not wisdom. That is weakness wearing the mask of peace. Real stoicism is not about allowing disrespect. It is about responding to disrespect without losing control of yourself. Marcus Aurelius, as Emperor of Rome, was surrounded by people who wanted influence, power, approval, and advantage. He understood that people could be selfish, dishonest, arrogant, and cruel. But he also understood that the greatest danger was not their behavior. The greatest danger was allowing their behavior to corrupt his character. This is the foundation of Stoic strength. You cannot control what people say, but you can control what you tolerate. You cannot control their character, but you can protect your own. You cannot force others to respect you, but you can stop rewarding disrespect with unlimited access to your life. That is where your power begins. If someone disrespects you, the first thing you must do is pause. Not because you are afraid. Not because you are weak. But because reaction is where you lose command of yourself. The disrespectful person often wants a reaction. They want anger. They want drama. They want you to become emotional so they can make you look unstable. They want to pull you down into their level of chaos. A Stoic does not give them that gift. A Stoic observes. A Stoic breathes. A Stoic asks, what is within my control right now? You cannot control the insult. You cannot control the tone. You cannot control the immaturity of the other person. But you can control your posture, your words, your silence, your distance, and your next decision. This is what separates a strong person from a reactive person. A reactive person gives their peace away instantly. One rude comment can ruin their day. One disrespectful message can control their thoughts for hours. One insult can make them act against their values. But a disciplined person understands that disrespect reveals more about the speaker than the target. When someone needs to belittle you, it often shows the smallness inside them. When someone must humiliate you to feel powerful, it exposes their insecurity. When someone crosses boundaries again and again, it shows they do not value what is sacred. Your job is not to educate every disrespectful person. Your job is to recognize what their behavior reveals and respond accordingly. Sometimes the strongest response is a clear sentence. Do not speak to me that way. That is not acceptable. I will not continue this conversation if you keep disrespecting me. Sometimes the strongest response is distance. Not every person deserves an explanation. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves a defense. There are people who do not want understanding. They want control. There are people who do not want peace. They want access to your emotions. For those people, silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. But silence must be paired with action. If someone repeatedly disrespects you and you remain available as if nothing happened, your silence becomes permission. This is where many people fail. They say they have boundaries, but they never enforce them. They say they want respect, but they keep giving unlimited chances to people who have already shown them who they are. They say they are done, but one apology, one message, one emotional excuse pulls them back into the same cycle. A boundary without consequence is only a suggestion. If you want people to respect your boundaries, you must respect them first. That means when someone crosses the line, something changes. Access changes. Communication changes. Trust changes. Your availability changes. You do not need to scream. You do not need to threaten. You do not need to prove that you are hurt. You simply need to act in alignment with your self-respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about living according to nature, reason, and virtue. To live with virtue is not to be passive. It is to be just, courageous, disciplined, and wise. Courage means you can face discomfort. Wisdom means you know when to speak and when to walk away. Discipline means your emotions do not control your response. Justice means you do not allow yourself to be treated as worthless. Because you are not worthless. But if you keep accepting disrespect, you may begin to feel like you are. This is the hidden danger. Disrespect does not only affect the moment. It slowly changes how you see yourself. Every time you allow someone to cross the line and pretend it did not matter, a part of you receives the message that your pain is not important. Every time you stay where you are dishonored, a part of you learns to expect less. Eventually, disrespect becomes familiar. You begin to call it love. You call it loyalty. You call it being patient. You call it keeping the peace. But peace built on self-betrayal is not peace. It is quiet suffering. And one day you wake up exhausted, angry, and disconnected from yourself. Not because one person disrespected you once, but because you trained yourself to abandon your dignity repeatedly. The Stoic path asks you to return to yourself. Not with bitterness. Not with revenge. Not with the desire to punish people. But with the calm understanding that your life must be governed by your values, not by your fear of losing others. If a person can only stay in your life when you have no boundaries, they are not attached to you. They are attached to your lack of resistance. If a relationship only works when you remain silent about what hurts you, it is not healthy. It is one-sided comfort. If someone becomes angry because you ask for basic respect, they are not reacting to your boundary. They are reacting to the loss of control. Remember this. People who benefit from your silence will often accuse you of being difficult when you finally speak. Let them. Your goal is not to be easy to control. Your goal is to be aligned with your principles. This does not mean you become harsh. It does not mean you insult people back. It does not mean you become cold, arrogant, or cruel. Stoicism is not about becoming the same as those who hurt you. It is about rising above them. When they are loud, you remain composed. When they are insulting, you remain precise. When they are manipulative, you remain clear. When they are chaotic, you remain grounded. When they try to pull you into emotional warfare, you refuse the invitation. This is power. Most people think power is domination. They think power means making others fear you. But true power is self-command. It is the ability to choose your response when every part of your wounded ego wants to explode. The person who can be insulted and still think clearly is dangerous in the best way. The person who can be rejected and still keep their dignity is free. The person who can walk away without begging, chasing, or collapsing has discovered something most people never do. They have discovered that their peace is not for sale. So how do you stop letting people disrespect you? First, you stop confusing kindness with weakness. You can be kind and still have standards. You can be generous and still say no. You can forgive someone and still remove access. You can understand why someone behaves the way they do and still refuse to be their emotional target. Understanding someone's wounds does not mean volunteering to be wounded by them. Second, you stop over-explaining. People who respect you do not need a long presentation to understand a simple boundary. People who do not respect you will use your explanations as material for debate. Say what you mean. Say it calmly. Say it once if possible. I am not comfortable with that. I do not accept being spoken to like this. I need space. No. The word no is complete. It does not require a courtroom defense. Third, you watch patterns, not promises. A disrespectful person may apologize when they feel you pulling away. They may become sweet for a short time. They may say they did not mean it. They may promise to change. But a Stoic does not build trust on emotion alone. A Stoic watches behavior over time. Words are easy. Patterns reveal truth. If someone keeps apologizing for the same disrespect, they are not sorry enough to change. They are sorry enough to keep access. Fourth, you stop trying to win respect from people committed to disrespecting you. This is a trap. You think if you become more useful, more patient, more successful, more attractive, more understanding, then maybe they will finally value you. But some people are not failing to see your worth. They are choosing not to honor it because dishonoring it benefits them. You cannot heal in a place where you are constantly made to feel small. You cannot build confidence while giving your attention to people who depend on your insecurity. You cannot become strong while asking permission from people who like you better weak. Fifth, you practice emotional independence. This is one of the deepest Stoic lessons. If your sense of worth depends on how others treat you, then every rude person becomes your master. Every critic becomes your judge. Every rejection becomes your identity. But when your worth is rooted in your character, other people's behavior loses its authority over your soul. Ask yourself, did I act with integrity? Did I remain disciplined? Did I protect my peace without becoming cruel? Did I speak truth without surrendering to rage? Did I walk away when staying would have required self-betrayal? If yes, then you have won, even if they never admit they were wrong. This is important because many people want closure from the person who disrespected them. They want an apology. They want recognition. They want the other person to finally understand the damage they caused. But waiting for someone else to validate your pain can become another form of captivity. Sometimes closure is not a conversation. Sometimes closure is the decision that you will no longer place your dignity in the hands of someone who mishandled it. You do not need them to agree with your boundary for your boundary to be valid. You do not need them to understand your pain for your pain to be real. You do not need them to approve your distance for your distance to be necessary. A Stoic accepts reality as it is, not as the ego wishes it to be. If someone has shown you disrespect repeatedly, accept the evidence. Do not decorate it with excuses. Do not romanticize it. Do not explain it away because you are attached to their potential. Potential does not equal character. Someone can have potential and still be harmful to you. Someone can have good moments and still be unsafe for your peace. Someone can say they love you and still treat you in ways that destroy your self-respect. Look at the whole pattern. This is not cynicism. This is clarity. Clarity is one of the greatest protections you will ever have. When you are clear, manipulation loses power. When you are clear, guilt loses power. When you are clear, temporary loneliness loses power. When you are clear, you stop returning to places where your soul has already outgrown the lesson. But clarity requires courage because it often demands action. It may require you to stop texting first. It may require you to leave the room. It may require you to reduce contact. It may require you to have a difficult conversation. It may require you to disappoint someone who is comfortable with your compliance. And that is okay. You are allowed to disappoint people in order to stop disappointing yourself. You are allowed to be misunderstood if the alternative is betraying your truth. You are allowed to choose peace over access. You are allowed to say, this is where I draw the line. The line is not there to punish others. It is there to protect your character, your mind, and your future. Because every environment trains you. Every relationship trains you. Every repeated conversation trains you. If you stay around disrespect long enough, you begin to normalize it. If you stay around manipulation long enough, you begin to doubt your perception. If you stay around criticism long enough, you begin to shrink before anyone even speaks. This is why choosing your environment is not a small matter. Marcus Aurelius had to live among people who tested his patience constantly. Yet his practice was to return to reason, to virtue, to inner command. He could not control the court, the empire, the critics, the betrayals, or the ambitions of others. But he could control the condition of his own soul. That is your work too. Do not let disrespect make you disrespectful. Do not let cruelty make you cruel. Do not let someone's lack of control steal your self-control. When you respond with discipline, you protect your inner kingdom. And understand this, sometimes the person disrespecting you is not an enemy. Sometimes it is someone you love. A friend. A partner. A parent. A sibling. Someone you once trusted. This makes it harder because your heart tries to negotiate with the truth. You tell yourself, they are not always like this. You remember the good moments. You focus on what they could become. You think leaving, speaking up, or setting boundaries means you are ungrateful. But love does not require self-erasure. You can love someone and still require respect. You can care about someone and still protect yourself. You can forgive someone and still decide that closeness is no longer wise. Forgiveness is not the same as access. This is a sentence you must remember. Forgiveness is not the same as access. You can release resentment without returning to the same position where you were harmed. You can wish someone well from a distance. You can choose not to carry hatred while also choosing not to reopen the door. That is maturity. That is strength. That is Stoic self-respect. And if you are afraid that boundaries will make people leave, listen carefully. Boundaries do not destroy healthy relationships. They reveal unhealthy ones. A person who truly respects you may not always agree with your boundary, but they will care enough to consider it. A person who only wants control will make your boundary the problem. Let the boundary reveal the truth. Do not chase people back into your life after your peace exposed them. Many people want to become respected, but they are still addicted to being liked. These are not the same. Being liked often requires performance. Being respected requires standards. If your greatest fear is that people will dislike you, you will always be tempted to betray yourself. You will say yes when your soul says no. You will laugh when you feel hurt. You will stay silent when truth needs to be spoken. You will keep doors open for people who have repeatedly shown you they do not value the privilege. But if your greatest commitment is self-respect, then being disliked becomes survivable. Not everyone needs to like you. Not everyone needs to understand you. Not everyone needs to have access to you. A peaceful life is not built by being accepted by everyone. It is built by being loyal to what is right, even when others are uncomfortable with your strength. So begin today. Notice where you are giving too much. Notice where you are staying silent out of fear. Notice where you are calling disrespect normal, because you have experienced it for too long. Notice where your body tightens around certain people. Notice where your peace disappears after certain conversations. The body often understands disrespect before the mind admits it. Pay attention. Then act with calm authority. Do not announce a new personality. Do not make dramatic speeches. Do not try to prove that you are different. Simply become different. When they interrupt you, pause and say, "Let me finish." When they insult you, say, "Do not speak to me that way." When they manipulate you with guilt, say, "I understand how you feel, but my answer is still no." When they repeatedly cross the line, reduce access. When they mock your growth, stop explaining it. When they test your boundary, enforce it. This is how self-respect is built. Not in theory, but in moments. Small moments. Quiet moments. Uncomfortable moments. Moments where the old you would have tolerated, chased, apologized, or collapsed. But the new you remains steady. Not perfect, steady. And over time, people will notice. Some will respect you more. Some will disappear. Some will become angry. Some will test you harder. Let them reveal themselves. Your only task is to remain loyal to your character. Because in the end, the world does not respect the person who says they have standards. It respects the person who lives by them. And even if the world does not respect you immediately, you will respect yourself. That is the foundation. Self-respect is the home you return to when people misunderstand you. It is the ground beneath your feet when someone rejects you. It is the quiet voice that says, "I will not abandon myself again." That voice is worth protecting. So the next time someone disrespects you, do not rush to anger. Do not rush to revenge. Do not rush to prove your worth. Pause. Breathe. Remember who you are. Then respond from strength, not from injury. Speak if speaking is necessary. Walk away if walking away is wiser. Set the boundary if the line has been crossed. Remove access if the pattern continues. And above all, do not let another person's lack of character become the reason you lose your own. This is what Marcus Aurelius would teach through the spirit of Stoicism. Your dignity is not controlled by the behavior of others. It is guarded by the discipline of your own soul. People may disrespect you. They may misunderstand you. They may test you. They may underestimate you. But they cannot make you abandon yourself unless you give them that power. Take that power back. Stop letting people disrespect you. Stop negotiating with patterns that keep hurting you. Stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. Stop calling self-betrayal peace. Stand calmly. Speak clearly. Walk wisely. Protect your energy. Protect your standards. Protect your peace. Because once you learn to respect yourself deeply, you will no longer beg others to do what your own soul has already done. And that is when your life begins to change. Not because everyone suddenly treats you better, but because you finally stop staying where they do not.